Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. Before we get too far into the video, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, that helps to get my channel promoted, and I appreciate it. I'd also love it if you left a comment. Things like constructive criticism, ideas for videos, how you do things is always interesting to me. Questions, whatever is fine in the comments. So it's October, and that means it's time for Halloween stuff, and I generally do a Halloween themed video. So today I'm going to do 3 different Halloween pieces, and the first 2 are going to be relatively simple, the third a little bit more complex. So first I'm going to make some candy corn earrings, and second I'm going to make a dagger pendant, and third I'm going to make a bat bracelet. So we'll see how they come out. Before we get going, though, I wanted to thank some groups of people, my patrons over on Patreon. I have a brand new patron, Leslie M. Thank you for signing up. I appreciate you joining. I think that you will find it's a great group of people over there. Make sure to go over to Discord once I send you the invite and introduce yourself. There's a ton of really nice people there. Thank you to the rest of my patrons for being such good supporters. I really value not only your financial contribution, but also your knowledge and your kindness. So thank you for that. My YouTube subscribers just passed 14,700, which is awesome, and I still can't believe that when I think about that. Thank you so much for the nice comments in the video sections. It's really good to know that people are getting something out of these, and I appreciate you letting me know that. I also appreciate the super thanks and the buy me a coffees. Those things really help with the cost of silver right now, so thanks for that. Alright, well, with those things being said, let's get started on these projects. This is one of my design idea notebooks you can get on my merch store. The recent ones I've started putting conversion tables on it. This one has fractions of an inch to decimals to millimeters. We just put a new one up too that has on it the formula for figuring out ring blanks, how long you need to cut them, with some basic measurements for common ring sizes as well. So that's useful, and it's available on the merch store along with this one and a couple of others. I like them because in recent years I've started drawing up everything I make, and I end up getting a much better outcome if I sketch it out in advance. So, there we go. And so today, this is what I got. So I'm going to make these little candy corn earrings. It's basically going to be 3 metals, brass, copper, and silver, because if you look at candy corn, they're yellow on top, kind of orange in the middle, and then white on the bottom. So we've got a white metal, a red metal, and kind of a gold metal. I don't know how they'll come out, but I'm going to use some scrap pieces I have that are roughly 18 gauge sheet, which is about 1.02 millimeters thick. And I'm also going to dome them slightly, I think, so that they have a little 3-dimensional look to them. And then I'll just solder on a silver jump ring up there out of 18 gauge round or something. The second one is going to be a little dagger pendant. And I'm going to make the blade, I think, out of some 8 gauge half round, or 6 gauge half round maybe. It depends on how thick I want to make it. If it's 8 gauge, it's 3.25 millimeters, and if 6 gauge, it's 4.09. I might use 6 gauge. Oops. That would give us a blade more in line with that. I'm not sure why I wrote down 8 gauge, but for the handle I'll probably use 14 gauge, and I think I'll wrap it with like some 20 gauge or some 18 gauge to give it kind of a handle, hilty look. This will probably be some flattened 14 gauge square, and then I'll just curve it around like that. And then I'll make a little ball on the charcoal block out of some scrap and add a ring and do a bail. I probably won't show you the bail because I have a video on how to do that already. If you want to see how to make that simple kind of bail, it's a good bail, and I'll put a link up there for you. I use that type of bail a lot. Third project is going to be a bat bracelet. So, like I said, I'm going to do some of this off camera, and I already did a little bit of it. Actually, I did quite a bit of it. I made the bat almost completely. So the things that I've done so far on this one are I made a ring out of 12 gauge square that was just slightly bigger than the amber that I'm going to use for a stone there, which is a 10 millimeter amber. And I mounted some 14 gauge round wire as prongs on here. I made a head out of a silver ball and I carved part of it away with the saw and then dremeled it. I mounted a little flattened silver ball for his nose. I mounted two copper discs for his eyes so they would kind of stand out. I made his ears out of 22 gauge sheet and cupped them a little bit with my dapping block, which is this. And I made the wings out of 22 gauge sheet and used 18 gauge wire for the finger bones, which is what I think they equate to in a bat. When I go to do the stone, before I do that, I'm going to actually kind of hammer these flat on the ends and make them into like little bat hands. So it looks like he's holding the stone on his belly. And then we'll mount it onto this band. So is there anything else I got to do? I don't think so. I just set the stone after that, but I'll polish it first. But let's start by doing the candy corn. So I have some scrap copper and brass here. And I was thinking, if I'm going to make it so it has these kind of curved look to them like that, I can't just take three strips of it and solder it together. I'll have to curve them a little bit. And so I have some of this stuff. Let's make it. This is the biggest piece of that I could find right now. I have a big piece of 18, but I probably won't need that much. I was thinking I need something that has a nice kind of gentle curve on it. And I thought, what about my bracelet handle? If you look at this, this is not a bad kind of shape. Let's see how that works out. If I scratch a line on there. I don't know if that's steep enough. Well, actually, yeah, it probably is. So that's about 5 millimeters. So if we go about 5 millimeters down here, and I'll just cut out a strip of that. And then I think what I'll do is I'll use the bottom curve of this to cut the strip for each next one, because that'll match the curve nicely so we can solder them together. So I'm going to cut this off right about here. Oops. When you solder different metals side by side together like this, they call it marrying metals. Sounds pretty fancy. So I can do the outside curve here okay. Probably going to have to use the saw to do the inside curve nicely. Okay, so let's go saw out this inside curve. I think I have a 0 on here probably. Okay, so I will clean that up with my rotary tool to get it all nice and smooth and the curve right. I'll be right back. Okay, so now I thought I would use this to trace a piece of this out. Not thinking correctly. I need to, let's do it over here. I need to make the top edge match this bottom edge. So this line I just scratched will be that'll be the top edge. And then for this one I'll just have to kind of do that. That's actually pretty close. I could solder it just like that probably. I think I'm going to mark that so I know where it goes, the two ends of it go to where it lines up nice. Okay, I'm going to do exactly what I did with the brass one. I'm going to go saw this out right here. Let's do that. Just kind of keep it pretty consistent then. Okay, so I'll use that outer line as the guide of where to cut it. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I made a decision while I was doing this. I don't need very much silver down here for the tips, so I'm not actually going to do a whole strip of silver. I'm just going to cut off some little pieces and get them lined up so they fit nice on there. The rest of this I'll solder together first, and then we'll add those two tips and then trace out the shapes. So, flux a little bit. If you haven't been to my channel before, I use pick soldering a lot. I think it's a really useful skill. If you're interested, I'll put a link up there for you. I have a good video about it. Somebody always asks me when I'm doing mixed metals whether I have any issues with pickling it in my normal pickle, and I really don't. So I never have had an issue with that too much, so I'm not sure why people seem to have a problem with that. Okay, so it's pretty good. I'll probably use whichever side has the least amount of excess solder, but I'm just going to file away the excess. In the meantime, let's cut a couple of little pieces of 18 gauge. That'd probably be big enough. kind of do it like that. Kind of do the same thing we did before. Use this one as a template. So maybe about like that. Okay, I'm going to use an abrasive wheel to take off all of the excess solder, and then we'll sketch out the actual candy corns and cut them out. So I'll be right back. Okay, so I cleaned those up a little bit and I cut them down, and I think we're ready to dome them a little bit. I also I cut out a couple of 18 gauge little jump rings that I'm going to solder to the top. You can also drill a hole in there and run a ring through it too. That would work as well. Then I'll add some ear wires on it and let them clean up. But let's dome these a little bit. So I want them to be a little bit curved, but I don't want them to be shaped like that. So let's bring this back over here. See if we can kind of... I guess I don't need to cool those off. Alright, I'm going to let those pickle for a while. And then while those are pickling, we will work on the second one. I did my bail in advance, like I said. I made one of these kind of simple ones like that. I cut a piece of the, actually the 6 gauge, so it's a little bit wider. It's not quite as wide as I drew it, but that's okay. So I'm going to be trying to file this so it's got a line going down the middle there. And then I have a piece of 14 gauge round wire here and some 18 that I'm going to wrap around it to make the handle. I went ahead and I made a little silver ball for the pommel, and then we'll just assemble it. Oh, here's some flattened 14 gauge square, which I'll use for the handguard there. So let's start by making the handle by wrapping this around here. Looks like I made it about 1 centimeter long. So I'm going to cut off the part that's not very good, the beginning part. I really don't need it that long, so Oh, maybe. That'd be alright. I think I want both ends to end in the back. So I'm going to cut this off in back. And then I think I'm just going to feed it back onto my round wire here. Cut it off. And let's just solder that on there. I didn't really talk about my setup today. I use hard silver sheet solder for almost everything. I may use a little easy solder on the bracelet on the last one. I use a liquid flux that I dribble on or spray on sometimes. My torch is a Silversmith acetylene air torch, gray torch. That's most of the questions. Stuff like this, the solder will wick along its entire length, which is kind of nifty. I'm going to do just a little bit more. Make sure I don't have any gaps. I'm going to cut off the excess. And just file that flat. You can use your miter vice jig if you want to. I think in order to get this to sit on there nicely, I'm going to make it kind of a little concave shape with my Dremel, so I'll be right back. So, I think it might be easier. Let's make the little hilt part. To flatten this, I just rolled it through my rolling mill. You could also just pound it flat if you wanted to, or leave it not flat. You could make your little hand guard however you want. That looks pretty good. Let's solder those together. Quit rolling around on me. So I think for this part, let's just stick our little sword in the stone, so to speak. Let's sweat a little bit of solder onto the back of the ball. See if I can do this without having everything fall apart. is one of those few times where you don't have to heat the entire piece because this is a separate piece. I don't really want anything flowing on the other one anyway. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and pickle that and then I'll finish it up. Now we can, I'll show you what I did on the previous one, or on the bracelet piece. I did most of the part that was going to be time consuming, which was making the bat. So here's the bat. So just as a refresher on your memory, since it's been a while since I mentioned this, I used 22 gauge sheet for all the sheet in here, except for the copper. The copper was probably 18 gauge, and I just cut a couple of little tiny discs and soldered them on there. This was just a silver ball that I flattened. 14 gauge round wire, 12 gauge square wire, 18 gauge round wire soldered to that 22 gauge sheet. I did texture the 22 gauge sheet after I cut it into wing shapes with my rolling mill and a texture plate. But that guy's ready to go to be mounted on the bracelet, I think. The only thing I'm going to have to do is shape his little feet after he's all polished up. So I'll do that towards the end. But we need to cut ourselves a band, and I think I'm going to use, like I said, 8 gauge, and I had some of that somewhere here. Well, let's cut about a 6-inch piece here. So I feel like I want to mount him not like that, maybe. So let me find the center of this thing so we get him centered. It should be the center pretty well. So I think I'd like to solder it right here and right here, but not too much further. Then bend it, and then bend these wings so they lay down a little bit, and then solder them where the wings are. Like I said, I think I might use some easy solder on this one. That way we don't have any unwanted flowage. Let's cool it off and see what happened here. Okay, I'm going to do just a little bit more now, up towards here where I bent this down up against it. I think that's all assembled. I'm going to let those all pickle, and then I'll clean them up. Show you the final result. Okay, got everything polished up. Here's my candy corn earrings. I think I like those. As they oxidize, it'll become more obvious. I think the brass and the copper kind of blend together, so it's hard to kind of see the distinction, but as things oxidize it'll change. Here's the sword. Key came out alright. And then here's our bat bracelet. So like I said, I just kind of carved the ends of his feet a little notchy so it looks like toes. So it looks like he's holding on to that piece of amber. So yeah, I'm pleased. I like it. I think it looks pretty funny and cute. Alright, I'll take some better pictures and put them at the end. Alright, well that was the 3 Halloween projects. I hope you enjoyed them. If you did, make sure to hit the like button before you leave. I would love it if you left a comment, and also visit my channel page. I have 380 plus videos now. I've been doing this for several years at 3 videos per week, so there's a lot of content here. I think no matter what skill level you are silversmithing wise, or if you just like to watch someone make something, there's all sorts of great content over there at different levels. So if you're looking for beginner projects, there's a beginner playlist. If you're looking for more advanced things, there's other playlists like that. So check those out. Subscribe to my channel. I'd love to have you as a subscriber. And don't forget to hit the video description down below as well. There's some important links, including my Patreon page, my YouTube merch store if you want to get yourself one of those nice design idea books, or a place where you can download my ebook, which is a guide to 2023's tutorials. So thank you for watching. Come back and see us again. Take care. Happy silversmithing.